there's another option too, besides that arpeggio. D9 arpeggio would sound beautiful, but then there's the melodic minor scale that you could play. Let's see. Which is a real powerful tool to use. That would be up a fifth from the root, right? A melodic minor over the D9 chord, but it's really coming from, it's over A bass note. You know. And basically a melodic minor scale is just a major scale with a flat third. So if you want to think of it like that, that's fine. So, but you can't play it from the root of the chord. You have to go up to the third of D, which is F sharp, right? Is that right? No, not the third, the fifth. Sorry, C sharp. So it would be. Is that right? That's not right. Hang on a minute. I'm dinging out. Yes, A. It's A. Yeah, up a fifth from the D chord. That's where I was thinking of E being the bass note again. Yeah. Okay, and so then, if you were to play this, right? The idea. So, I mean, you can make all kinds of melodies out of that.
Whatever would you say that melodic minor?
It's a fifth away from the root of the chord, but it's misleading because the bass note is E, but the root of the chord is D. So that third chord is a D9 chord. You know, let's also talk about some more stuff about this. This is a very versatile thing. This can be used in a lot of different ways. I mean, you could go. See, that's the same, chords basically. But that second chord, first you got E7. The second chord is E diminished, right? Or it could be thought of really as it's like an F sharp 7 chord, F sharp dominant, with some alterations made to it by the diminished chord, right? So I mean, it gives it that, what is that? You're a flat 9 in there, big time. But, so you could make it a straight dominant. You could be going like, and I'll just play F sharp 7. And then D9, instead of leaving it all over E bass note, you can give it the regular bass note. Then instead of playing that diminished arpeggio we were playing, that over that second chord, you could just play a dominant seventh arpeggio, or you could play a Mixolydian scale over this second chord, which could now be F sharp dominant. So you just play, and then when that third chord comes, then right back to the one chord, back to that gospel thing, you know. So that's the idea. You're looking at, on that second chord, an F sharp Mixolydian. The reason why is because it's a dominant chord like you were talking about a minute ago. So the chords are E, F sharp dominant, D9, back to E. Like in that song Layla, you guys know Layla, right? You know how Layla has that thing in it? That's from that D9 chord, and then you put a sharp 11 on it, and then you just resolve right to E. So think of all the ways you can do this, you know? Chunking an E in the bass, right? Okay. Sorry. Now then the next thing would be to change the bass notes to their normal notes, which would be E, F sharp 7, D9, this on that F sharp dominant, instead of just playing like a Mixolydian, like there's a thing called a dominant pentatonic. Have you guys studied about that yet?
There's got mentioned it in one of the DVDs we had.
Oh, really? Really? Okay. Well, that's a cool little deal there.
But the level 1 guy just got that this week. Some of the guys did.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that real quick. Just we won't spend a lot of time on it, but a dominant pentatonic is like, you know how a major pentatonic is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, right? Well, a dominant pentatonic is the same thing, but the 6 turns into a flat 7. The word dominant generally means flat 7, right? And a flat 7 is just a whole step lower than the root. That's the easiest way to think of it. So if you're thinking of an F sharp chord, just a plain old F sharp, and you want to make it an F sharp 7, just find the octave note in your triad fingering, you know, whether it's like this, you know, and just take the octave and move it down a whole step, because that's where the flat 7th is, right? That'll change that chord from an F sharp triad to an F sharp 7. So when you're doing a major pentatonic, you know, like, you change that sixth, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 to 1, 2, 3, 5 flat 7, then you'll get this cool little, that scale is a cool little deal just for a second, when it's en route to something else. And so if you were on this chord, is that the second one or the F sharp 7 chord, I might use this scale, just briefly. Or I might use some chromatic ideas with it too, like, or something like, something like that, where it's got a Mixolydian sound, but you're leaving out the sixth by playing the dominant pentatonic, right? You can make it bluesy sounding too sometimes. Okay, so that will fit that F sharp 7th chord. So if you're going E7 to F sharp 7 to D9, there it is right there. And then there it is. All right. Okay, so that's just some ideas that you can kick around. And if you want to get, if you like country type stuff, you can take that same progression, which would be E7 to F sharp 7, and you can do a Travis picking thing with it, And then when you play over it, it's going to be more challenging to play over because you don't have all the time that you'd have like playing the blues. Like. Stuff like that. Anyway, any questions about any of this stuff? Chord scales? Yeah, sometimes it's a really cool scale. I call it the Jan Hammer scale, but they use it in Indian classical music a lot, and that's a real useful scale. Well, let's see. Yeah, I think of it like a minor pentatonic with a major third. That's the way I think of it. Or a dominant 7th arpeggio with a 4th. Like if you think of a dominant 7th arpeggio, if you took that and just put in a 4th with it, instead of being 1, 3, 5, flat 7, it's 1, 3, 4, 5, flat 7. Like 4, 5, flat 7, and then you do it up an octave. It's a very useful scale too. Or you can think of it, like I said, minor pentatonic with a major third. See what I mean? It's it's just this thing about music. There's so many different ways you can think of things. There's always 50 ways to come up with the same answer. So it comes down to you, you know, and your approach and, you know, how you view things and how you think about things. Yeah, just I take out the minor third, put the major third in its place, you know. Jan Hammer was a great keyboard player, played with Jeff Beck a lot. And he used that. He was the first guy I heard that used it that much. But after that, of course, Jeff Beck used it. Eric Johnson used it. And I hear Indian classical music, they use it a lot too. That's where, well, yeah, exactly. I'm sure that the ancient Indian classical music guys, they stole it from Jeff Beck. Yeah, right. Yeah. Anyway, so I was just hoping that we could, you know, take some really simple stuff today. That's what I wanted to do. Just super simple, nothing complicated, and just, you know, maybe learn something about like this turnaround. Now, most of the time when this turnaround happens, it just happens so, you know, like, it happens so fast, you just play gospel over it, gospel and blues, which is wonderful. But when it is slowed down like that, I mean, you do get a chance to milk it a little bit. And sometimes that melodic minor and that dominant pentatonic thing can really give you some, you know, and you don't have to play fast. You can still play slow as molasses and still get, and without sounding out or anything like that. Let's do that one more time for a second. Oh, you're going to play that one? Okay. No. Either one. That's fine. Is from melodic minor back to the one chord. And that sounds like Layla, doesn't it? So it doesn't have to be fast. It can just be like a woman singing. But you can key in on those notes, like when that third chord comes, you know, like when that chord comes, that third chord, you know? And then it resolves, you know, back to that completely gospel sound, which is all major pentatonic stuff, you know. But you can play in one position and you can bend and imply all those scales without leaving that one position. You know, like major pentatonic, and then the diminished arpeggio. You know, the diminished arpeggio with a couple other notes added to it, you know. Really just on two strings, you know. With those half-step bends we were talking about. And then the third chord, melodic minor, you know. find a little motif and go back and forth, like, you know. You know, something like. This little thing, I like this. You can hear the changes in it, you know. Okay. Any questions about chord scale stuff or anything like that?
I got a question. I noticed on your picking hand, you upstroke, like.
Sometimes.
As like more accented on it. Is that like a stylistic thing or?
I swear I don't know. You know, I mean, sometimes I guess it could be.
Yeah.
You know, it's so weird because, you know, like I look at other people's playing and I'm kind of analytical about it, but my own playing, I've never analyzed that facet of it. And I don't, you know, like when I watch other people play, I'm always thinking about that. How do he do that? You know, is he upstroking there? It might just be completely, I don't know. It might not happen tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know. There's a different thing about playing those kind of things in blues. Sometimes I just won't even use a pick, but you know, or that type of a blues.
Like the Steve Morse style, I guess, holding with the middle finger versus the index finger.
Yeah.
Is that?
It's not intentional, and I started just started playing that way, and it's weird. I know it's inefficient to some degree. Like there's certain, like when you hear McLaughlin play, like you won't hear me playing like that. And I think it's because of the technique limiting you somewhat, because he's got that real whip-like action with the. I don't think he anchors his hand and he plays like that, you know, like a lot of people. I never could play like I couldn't do it. I saw when I was in school, Paul Gilbert was in the same class, and he was a real cool guy. And we hung out some, you know. And I watched him. He had the strangest picking technique anyone's ever seen. I mean, it looked like, he had 3 fingers on the pick, but his hand looked so crazy, and it looked like it hurt. But he could pick faster than anyone, right? And then in the middle of the school year, he changed his picking style. Who does that? Who can do that? I mean, it would take years. Like if I decided I'm not going to hold it this way anymore, I'm going to start, you know, holding it the other way. It would be a long, long time before I could ever get back, you know, where I am now. He did it in 2 weeks. And then he surpassed his former self, which is incredible. You know. But no, I never really thought about it. But I always, like, when people go, am I holding the pick right, you know, I never say anything. Because they told me, forget it, dude, you can't hold the pick like that. They told me that. I mean, they told me that. A few different people told me that. And I was like, oh, yeah. You know, it was one place. There was a bunch of people, you know, because they want you to be, you know, the best that you can be, and they're trying to use what they know to be true to benefit you all from them. So, you know, but I never say anything. I won't take responsibility for someone holding the pick wrong, if that's possible. I mean, I guess if they wanted to hold it like this, it wouldn't work. But any combination of, you know, 2 fingers here or 3, you know, I'm not going to say anything. It limits you, you know, like I can't do the 3-finger banjo roll stuff that I see people do. That flips me out. You know, those Nashville guys. That just flips me out. I mean, you know, get the pick going and the 2 fingers, and it's incredible. So, anyway. Any other questions about anything?
Yeah.
I'm not in a hurry.
Reminds me of a lot of slide guitar. I know a lot of slide guitar players turn the volume down.
Yeah.
Harder.
Yeah. Yeah, like right now I got the volume way down. It's way down.
Yeah.
I just recently started playing this guitar. I just bought it on an impulse, and I started using the bar a lot. And I mean, I'm 47, and I've never touched a whammy bar until like a month ago. But I'm really into it. I mean, I haven't used it much today, but I've been using it a lot at home. And I've never been able to get any kind of tone out of a Strat bridge pickup, so I've always used humbuckers, you know. And so, but now they've got this treble control on the bridge pickup, which Fenders didn't used to have that. I mean, you had to modify your Fender to get that, you know. And I've done that before. I've modified Fenders to do that, you know. The Strat has usually it's the tone for the neck is this knob, and then this one's the tone for the middle. Now they're making them, you know, with the tone affecting the middle and the bridge pickup. Ever since I found that, it sounds right, you know. It's got a tone. It's got a tone. And I've always, you know. But once I started playing this because some of my other guitars that I wanted to play were, you know, they were on a truck somewhere and I couldn't get to them. And so I had this one, so I just started playing it, and I haven't put it down in a pretty long time. I'm really enjoying it. Haven't yet. I recorded with it though. I did a session with it, and I couldn't believe I was so happy. It sounded good. It took a long time, but it still sounded good. Mostly this just American Standard that has 2 humbuckers in it. You know, I use 2 volume knobs really. You know, because with humbuckers, you know, a lot of them will have 1 volume and 2 tones. You know, but I usually have 2 volumes and 1 tone because I like to be able to put it on both humbuckers and then turn one pickup up louder than the other, and maybe just mess around with, you know, blending those 2 knobs. It's a little bit sweeter to me than a bridge pickup by itself, you know. But with a Strat, I don't mess with it. I just leave it. As long as it's got a treble control on it for the bridge pickup, I can use it. I can actually use it. Well, okay. Anything else? I'm not in any hurry at all. I can sit here all night. Play some? Okay, well, it's like it's just, I just call it that because it was, the pig goes, it's simple. That's like one of the only things I ever just, like, it just happened. I didn't steal it from anyone. But it's just, it's like, all it is, it's real simple. You just hit a note, you know, and then you do a pull off. And then the next 2 notes, you pick both of them. Like that. And then you do another hammer on, like but it can be applied to a lot of other notes and stuff, but it's just like, I don't do it that much anymore that way, unless the tempo is super, super fast and it fits, but I started doing a hybrid of it where there's like a strange, I can't put it into words what it is, but it's like a, I don't know what it is, it's still triplets, I think, you know. You know, you can change the notes to anything, you know. Let's see. I don't even know how to do that one slow. The one with the weird pull off in it. But the straight ahead one is, I'm picking. That's why I call it shuffle pickings. You know. But when you get it going fast, it's, you know. But the notes you're hearing are, you know. That's just what I'm picking. The rest of it. Pull off the hammer. See. You can spread it out and I can't do it too good right now, but you can change the notes to anything you want them to be. You know, it's just a parlor trick. Yeah.
You touched on chromatic ideas earlier. Is there a strategy with chromatics that makes it, because it seems like that could be something where you could, maybe you're targeting 3s and 7s.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know what I'm talking.
No, you sound right. You sound good. Yeah, there's different approaches to it for sure. I mean, there's the simplest one I can think of that you can get a lot of mileage out of is you know, take a triad and just play notes half step below and half step above every chord tone. So instead of going, you go. See what I mean? I'm like, I'm taking that arpeggio like an A right here, but I'll play, but that note I'll go a half step above and a half step below, and then you hit it. Django did stuff like that, you know, like, let's see. What was that lick of Django's I used to know? Let's see, something like that. That's the idea anyway. You're targeting the chord tones of the arpeggios with half step below and half step above. And then another way would be, you know, like take your scale fingering, such as like an E mixolydian right here, like. With that fingering, you can see like when you there's a half step right there. Do it like that, you know, like instead of just going. I could go. And then there's another whole step right there where there's a chromatic place right in there in between. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you know. See what I'm trying to do there? Like here's the fingering. So I'm just it's a real simple concept of just like hitting that note that's not in the scale and then making it to one that is in the scale. And then you keep going down the scale as normal. And then here comes another chromatic note. You know, so you have, I'm sorry. Okay. Now, when you get to this point, you know, it'll be the next part of the scale, but you can chromatically go. See what I mean? Okay. You know. Okay, here's another place to grab something from it. Like, you know, you're stepping out of the position for just for a second to get that note right there. No, this is actually out of the key. This is chromatic note. That note. Oh, the one I'm coming back to, is that the root? No, it's actually the ninth in this situation. I'm thinking about E being the root. You know. Wait. I really don't know. I just kind of stumbled upon a couple of these things, and then it started happening in places where I didn't even expect it. And that's what will happen for you too. If you just, you know, you just start to look at it, you look at the shape, and you see notes that aren't, you see the notes, but it's like there's a light bulb on the notes that aren't there, that aren't in the key. You know what I mean? And you start to find ways of weaving those notes in where you're not landing on them, but you just, you know, you're using them to fuel, you know, the thing like that little, that's, I'm going straight up mixolydian. But instead of coming back down and going, that would sound like, there's nothing wrong with it, it sounds fine, but instead of going, I might go, which that note's not in the, it's not in the scale, but, you see what I mean? Like, excuse me, that note's not in the scale either, so I'm gonna go. That note's not in there, but I'm gonna redeem it by going. See what I mean? That's another chromatic. And so basically I'm just kind of going. And you can get lost on something like that. I use those too much, probably. You know what I mean? But it's a good way to get started on the chromatic thing. You know. Really, that's like becomes melodic minor if I do that, doesn't it? But I just did it for a second. It's just the fourth and the sharp four. I put the sharp four in place of the four. But you know, when you're playing, you don't think about that kind of stuff so much. I mean, sometimes you do, but if I was playing this, I wouldn't be thinking about fours and sharp fours. I'd just start playing, you know. You know, and here's the next pattern up, you know. They're, you know, reaching outside the pattern. I do that a lot too, for sure. And it's just a little chromatic. It's just all that effort for one non-diatonic note. That's a pretty cool little idea. You know how you might go. You might do it's a melodic idea. Well, I might go. You start to find these little chromatic things, and you can zone in on them and use them, or just fly by or fly through them. And then if you're playing in a situation where any note is works and you're just free, and you know, it's really a privilege to be in that situation when you're playing with people that are that open, you know, that you know, you can play anything. You can just, you know, start trying stuff, you know, like I might be up in here somewhere. And once you find an idea, you can move it around, you know. You know, something like that. Or you just start chromatically going insane, you know. I don't even know what most of that was, but, you know, I mean, it wasn't really good either. So usually if you don't know what it is and you're not hearing it, it's probably not that good. But you know, if you're in that situation where you want to try something you've never tried, and you know, you just find a chromatic idea and start, you know, seeing if you can just carry it through. I think it helps more to relate it to a scale fingering though, like the one we were just doing. That works great again. It's like if Bill played an E9. Well, that one was unnecessary, but the rest of them were okay. See what I mean? Okay, no chromatics at all. Now we'll start doing some chromatic stuff. So that's the idea with that chromatic stuff, at least my approach to it. There's a lot of people that have different approaches to it. Bill has got this approach to it that's completely insane, where you're playing a chromatic scale, but you disperse notes by octaves. Yeah, that's really cool. Shut up, it's mine. Sorry about that. It's on vibrate.
Don't let it happen again.
Yeah, I apologize. But anyway, so, hopefully there's some stuff that you can use there. And today, my thing was, I just want to show you guys something hopefully you can use, something you can take this idea and run with it. You can make up synthetic scales if you want to and do this with it, I mean, people do that. I was talking to Greg Osby on the phone. He's this brilliant alto sax player. And I've been listening to some of his tunes, because I was we're going to tour together in April, and I was looking at maybe doing some of his tunes, because, he's incredible. And I was listening to it, and I couldn't even hardly figure out, I couldn't relate. I didn't even know what it was. I was like, what are you doing? He goes, oh yeah, we had to make up some synthetic scales to play through those changes, because they're not really chords. And I just hung my head and went, do you have any normal music? Because, people think we're out, You look at this guy, and he absorbed regular music so long ago. He's off on something else now, which is awesome. But anyway, synthetic scales, because those aren't really chords. They just imply chords, but there's no regular scale that will fit them, so we had to make up on, or he had to make up his own. The only synthetic scale I know of really is the two triads, flat fifths apart.
Yeah.
And how does it go again? What is it like? Was that it? Meet George Jesse. That's pretty cool, but that's like what is that, an A and E flat? Yeah. Yeah, if you took A and E flat, and you put them into one scale, it would be, sorry, I'm messing it up again. Yeah, it's really just part of the diminished scale. It's part of it, but it's like the diminished scale with a couple notes missing or one note missing. That's like as deep as I go on synthetic scales. How about you?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know something?
Synthetic scales?
Yeah. There's a lot of music.
I don't, there's that plus, correct?
Is it some kind of thesaurus or something?
Yeah, the thesaurus.
Oh, okay, yeah. Holsworth was really into that too, from what I hear. I mean, guys like Brecker and Holsworth. Oh, Zappa too. Well, yeah. Yeah. Coltrane might have written it. I don't know.
One thing I'd like to mention is, I don't know if you got this or not, but me and Jimmy, I was the first cat that ever hung out with Jesus.
That was like, what?
25 years ago.
Yeah, it was like 1986.
Yeah. And the cool thing that I heard Jimmy mention later, somebody said, how long have you been doing that? He said, I kind of stumbled on it last year.
Yeah.
Playing it for years. But last year. So the cool thing about this is it doesn't matter where you get to. And that's the beauty of this stuff. I hate to be all moved up though.
Yeah, if you knew everything, what's left? Yeah. Nobody knows it all. Isn't it? I mean, that's the thing about this. Like when you start getting into this stuff, you just realize, oh my gosh, there's so much left to learn. You can play like we've been playing what 30-something years, and I've been playing 33 years. And I mean, I felt like a 5-year-old kid on Christmas morning when this finally dawned on me. And I was like, I don't believe this. How can I miss this? I should have been studying this, 25 years ago.
And see, I'm in the same way. It's like I'm not letting you guys know that. Well, yeah. My head.
No, he knows this stuff already.
Well, that stuff is like there's
for about 2 years before he ever uses it in live. Yeah, because he won't use it in his improvisations live until it just like happens without him going, hey, I'm gonna use that thing I just really worked on last time. You know what I mean? Well, people like him have those kind of options. Yeah, he can decide I'm not gonna use a third of my vocabulary tonight. And it would still be fun. But yeah, I know. I'll take his mistakes. Yeah. But anyway, so hopefully there's major pentatonic, major scale, and keep in mind all these are all the modes too. All this stuff can be applied to the modes just by changing the bass note. That was one of the biggest things that dawned on me when I was first learning about this stuff. It took forever to figure that out, because I was in the position of, starting on this note and ending on that note, and not really knowing why I had to do that. And it finally dawned on me, oh, well, like you can harmonize the scale and play it in high voicings, and he can play the different bass note underneath it, and you can hear the mode. You can just hear it. If we play that over F sharp, you're gonna hear Dorian. It has the sound of Dorian. The flat third and the major sixth and the flat seventh. Not to be confused with the other minor scales. So anyway, hopefully the blues turnaround stuff can help you too. Because a lot of people ignore that. And they don't play through some of those chords. They'll just let them go by. But I love the gospel approach to it. I would, when Roosevelt Lee plays through it, my friend from the Lee Boys that lives down in Florida, he plays pedal steel, but he comes from the church, And when that guy plays, through something like that, it's just like, you can just feel the light shining on you, you know what I mean? And he doesn't know what a melodic minor scale is, so he doesn't need to, But we are in school here, so we might as well look at our options. That's what this was about.
You said a lot of gospel, so it's just
Yeah, and when I call it gospel, I mean, I don't really, I'm not a real gospel player, obviously, but yeah, when I think about it, I'm thinking about that major pentatonic.
Oh, yes, yes.
Sounding kind of like a slide, That's what I'm thinking about when I think gospel.
Are you pitching those bands or anything?
Not really. You mean bending them a little bit, or you mean harmonics, like?
Yeah.
Not intentionally. It might happen sometimes. Some of their nuances is coming from, like, we might go, but they might go, or they might go, you know what I mean? You start to find those in between.
Release this.
Yeah. That's Aubrey Gently. I stole from Derek. But Aubrey Gent is the guy that came to him. He's this pedal steel player, and I think he lives in member of the Sacred Steel community. That all these incredible, these guys are ministers, and they play pedal steel instead of organ. Because when they were growing up, they couldn't afford organ in their churches, so they did it on pedal steel. And Derek warned me. He was like, "Man, Aubrey Gent sounds like a woman singing." And he put the album on. And I heard the first notes, and I thought, "Oh, Aubrey hadn't come in yet. That's a woman singing." And I'm waiting for Aubrey to come in, and by the third or fourth note, it hit me that was him, And I really thought it was a woman singing. Because his wife sings on the album too, you know. So it's like, anyway, that's a lot of his stuff, amazing stuff. Yeah, I guess it's just a matter of just playing around with the bids, you know. Half-step bids are powerful. So, you know, if you're in if you're playing like just a regular Mixolydian scale or something, or like a major scale, like if I'm just going, or these are the same scale going. Those are the patterns I'm going to draw from right on this example. Sounds kind of cool. Well, I mean, there's great books on that subject that I would really benefit from, like Intervallic Design by Joe DiOrio is one of them. A lot of, I don't know, I mean, seventh intervals are big. I mean, I don't know if you've probably already seen stuff that I've talked about the same thing I'm going to tell you. You know, but, you know, like here on, I'm just doing a, sorry, I'm playing two different scales. Seventh intervals with this scale would be like, and what you can do is you can start playing out of those shapes. That's just one thing you can do. There's many more people that are a lot more qualified to talk about this side of the subject than me, but I think of it like, I see it in this shapes, like in this example, like, and I might use the shapes in improvisation, like, I might go from here to here, here to there. And it sounds kind of weird, but they're all notes that are in the scale. There's nothing outside the scale, but like, here's one idea. You know, you can use these shapes in a lot of ways. Like, we were playing. That's the idea. But those are all real linear ideas. They're not, you know what I mean? It's like, here's this shape. You know what they are? It's these chords. Those same chords. Exactly. You know, but when this chord happens, I'm going to, like, instead of just playing it, I actually played the fourth string, second string. You know, third string, first string, like that. You know, if you looked at this, something like that is just you can be they can be broken down into chord shapes. Isn't that crazy? It's all connected somehow.
So that just added 20 more years to your study.
So what I was thinking we would try was just play an E major 7 chord and, you know, play a major scale against it. And obviously if you've done this a lot, you know that there's one note that's kind of dissonant. There's two notes that are kind of dissonant. But one of them is going to be, you know, dissonant against the chord. It's the fourth. So if you took the fourth out, you would end up with this sound. It's almost like an arpeggio just with one note added to it. So the idea would be let's explore that a little bit, you know. If you think of it like a pentatonic, just put a seventh on the pentatonic, right? Okay. Now, if you went to the 4 chord in the key A major 7, now you can keep playing the same scale for a second. See, now you've got because the chord changed. Now the intervals are going to be different. So now, what was the 7th on the 1 chord is now the sharp 4 on the 4 chord. Okay. Now, what if you took
the same scale and just got rid of that note and took the seventh out and did it like this. Okay. Now, you know, obviously the hipper notes like the sharp 4 and, you know, the 9 and all that stuff. Right now, we're just going to keep it real simple. We're going to start real simple and then start working toward some more happening tones. Okay, so play that one. That's the E. Okay, now the 4 chord. Now back to the 1 chord. Sorry. Yeah.
What was it that you're doing on the fourth chord again? Sorry.
What we're doing is playing like an A major scale with no fourth. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. It's just taking out the 4. Or you could look at it like this. Think of it as they're both E major scales, right? On the 1 chord, we're just taking out the 4th. Okay, there's no 4th in that scale. And now, for the 4 chord, we'll keep the same scale, but we'll put the 4th back in and take out the 7th, okay? Yeah. So now you're still playing E major scale, but this time on the 4 chord, you're going to take out the 7th. And now you'll just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? I'm sorry, that's wrong. I get it. We're just taking out the 4th again. Oh, you know what? I keep comparing them back to E and A, so I guess it's really the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could think of it as an A major scale with no 4th or E major scale with no 7th. See, that's the thing about the stuff. It depends on how you think. I tend to think from the root of whatever chord I'm playing over. But for these purposes, let's just think of it as an E major scale with no 4th on the 1 chord. And then an E major scale with no 7th on the 4 chord. But listen to some of the lines you can get by doing this. I mean, even if we don't hear any chords, check this out, okay? You can hear it changing, you know. Sometimes it's a cool thing to do even over a drone. Like just hit that E drone for a second, Bill, if you would. Okay. There's the 4th that we left out a minute ago. And that's all in one position, you know, and you learn them in the different positions you can really have fun with. Okay, so just to give you an idea, let's play a little bit on that. Any tempo you want. That's 2 bars on each chord, okay? idea, you know, so you get a little bit more of a melodic voice. It's a way to get more mileage out of just the major scale. If I just haphazardly play the major scale, it's not going to be as descriptive of the chord changes, right? So you can do it that way too. Okay. Now let's add a couple more chords to it and see if we can make it a little more just by doing the same two scales, which are really just one scale broken into two parts. So it's really E major scale with no fourth, E major scale with no seventh. Okay. Let's try adding the C sharp. Now the chord I was playing between the E major 7, I was playing an E major scale with no fourth. And if you play that same scale against the C sharp minor, you get this sound. And really all that is, if you think about it from the root of C sharp, it's just a C sharp minor pentatonic with a ninth added to it. But, like I said, it's also an E major scale with no seventh. So if you had these chords, like E major 7, like sorry, 2, 3, 4, E major 7, A major 7. Now go to C sharp minor. Now F sharp minor. Okay, now let's stop and analyze that just for a second. That's just the one chord in the key of E, E major 7, going to the 4 chord, which is A major 7, going to the 6 chord, right there, C sharp minor. I'm making it a minor 9, but it could be a minor triad, or it could be a minor 7, or it could be a minor 9, or you could make it a minor 11. Any of those, you know, chords will work for this purpose. Okay, and then let's go to the 2 chord, which is F sharp minor. Now, same goes for this. It could be a triad, you know, or it could be a minor 7, or it could be a minor 9, or a minor 11, out of tune, minor 11, and then maybe a minor 13 if you really want. But when you put that note in, of course, you know, you're getting into it's a Dorian scale, which is fine. You know, that's what you're going to be playing anyway. But we're trying to zero in on melodic ways to play in a very basic way, because a lot of people are always asking me about that. So that's one of the things I try to do anyway. So we'll be playing E major scale with no 7th over the E major chord. You know, when it goes to the 4 chord, we'll be playing E major scale with no. Yeah, thanks. I don't think about all this stuff till I can. So we took the 4th out on the 1st chord. We're taking the 7th out on the 2nd chord, and then we'll just go back to the same one we started at the beginning with, you know, and then we'll play over the C sharp minor, right? And now when you go to the F sharp minor, you know. And what is that? That's the one with no 7th again. So we're really just going back and forth between 2 6-note scales, which are really part of the same scale. So all these chords you could just play. You could just play a plain old E major scale over all of them. But if you do that, you run the risk of not being melodic on certain chords, and you kind of want to spell the changes. And this way of doing it will spell the changes more accurately, because it's really almost like an arpeggio, just a little. And when you play something slow, it'll be better. It'll be prettier. And when you play something fast, it'll be more challenging because there's not as many notes to work with. Let's just do that for a minute. 2. All these are from the key of E. 1 chord, 4 chord, 6 chord, changes, the contour of the changes a little better. Does anybody have a question about any of that stuff?
When you're going through those runs, are you just going, or is there anything you're targeting specifically other than the 3 and 7 for the changes?
No, actually. I mean, sometimes you know, the more you play, the more you will target things without even necessarily meaning to. But no, I was just like playing through each scale thing. Yeah, I mean, without really thinking too much. That's why this is a good way to get you started. And then the more you do it, you will start thinking about it, and you will start finding yourself leaning toward certain chord tones, you know, and you'll just accidentally do it. You'll go, oh shit, I gotta remember what that was, you know, and then you'll try to remember what it was. But no, actually, that's the beauty of doing it this way. It's really, I mean, when you think about it, it's one scale, and then it sounds like 2 different scales, doesn't it? But really, it's just the same scale. And you're breaking it up like once without, you know, like we talked about, once without a 4th and once without a 7th. You know, and then when you go to the C sharp minor, you know, it's the same scale you played against the E, but now the relationship is different to the chord, so it's going to sound a little different. But for you, it's fingering wise, it's the same, you know, and the same with the F sharp minor. But you know, you can really get a lot of mileage out of this stuff, like, you know, what if you were just doing it like a dirge, really slow, like. Get a lot of mileage out of it, and you'll have fun with it. Another thing real quick while we're on this particular kind of thing, half-step bends kind of get ignored sometimes. Sometimes it's a really cool thing to do to, you know, just even if the note's not on the scale, bend into a target tone from a half-step below. It can be real lyrical sounding, you know, like if I went, that's to the E major 7 arpeggio. Well, when I hit that top note, I might want to think about bending into it from a half step below. Those kind of ideas. And really, you can always do it the ones that are on the scale too. See, there's 2 right beside each other. You know, here's the root. If I hit that note, that's on the scale. I can go. And then I'm hitting the root, of course, by bending the 7th into the root. But then a half step from the 7th, you know. Those kind of things, you know, they can give it a little bit more of a weeping kind of quality or something. Let me demonstrate that a little bit. Let's play that progression. I missed that one, sorry. But you get the idea. Okay. Now let's see. All right, well there's something called chord scales. Have you guys done any studying about chord scales? I mean, everybody remembers this one, right? The question is like, in a lot of people's minds, is where did this come from and who made this, and you know, I can do it, and I can look at it on a piece of paper and relate to it, but you know, you might not understand why it happened to begin with. Let's take like an E minor pentatonic scale, you know, which is related to what we were just doing a minute. But okay, you get the idea. It's just a chord scale, just like this was. You learned that in level 1, right, Bill? Yeah. Yeah, harmonized major scale. That's what these are. They're just different voicings. You know, and for anyone who doesn't know what a voicing really is, it's just a different way to play the same 3 or 4 notes. In these cases, these are 4-note chords. But you know, you have these 4 notes, and you can play those 4 notes in any order, and it's still the same chord as long as it's got the same 4 notes. But it doesn't matter what order they come in. Like you could take 1, 3, 5, 7, and you could change it to 1, 3, 7, 5, and it's still the same chord. Only it'll sound a little different because the voicing's different. But eventually, I mean, you start to be able to tell that, you know, the sound of a chord, no matter what voicing it's in. Like for instance, like an E major 7, like. Okay, that's a real common voicing. Okay, here's another one. No, it's the same one, sorry. Okay, so you have. Now these are very common voicings. Okay, here's oh no, that's the same one too. Okay, how about this one? Or this one? Sorry. These are all E major 7. This one's E major 7. Now that sounds out, but it's still the same 4 notes. It's got the root on top, that's why it sounds that way. If you put the root down a half step to the 7th, twang bars are hard to keep in tune, I'm sorry. I love that voicing though. That's a cool voicing though. But anyway, the idea is to just juggle these notes around and learn something new out of the same material, you know? Because when you hear a bunch of guys that blow your mind, you know, and playing all this out stuff, it's pretty much using the same vocabulary, but they might not be using it off the root of the chord, so it'll sound whacked, you know, but it's really, not always, but most of the time, it's something very tangible that they've put at another interval away from the root of the chord. Okay, so, hey Bill, can you play an F sharp, like drone, so we can, now what we're going to hear these chords against an F sharp root, because any note in the, you know, in the scale can be the bass note, so check it. That's a cool, like McCoy-Tyner thing, you know. See what I mean? You know, he does that kind of stuff. So anyway, so you get the idea there. And can anyone tell me what mode this is kind of spelling when they listen to it? Huh? Yeah, Dorian. Because basically you can play any of these chords, and as long as this is the lowest note, at least to my ears, that means it's going to be Dorian. Because that's any chord up there doesn't matter as long as that's the bass note. That's where it's bringing the your ear as a resting spot, you know. And it doesn't mean you have to start on that note when you play that scale. You can start on any note in the scale. But the note that, you know how typically when you learn modes, you start on this note and you end on that note. But, you know, I mean, that's just so you'll understand what note the root is, you know. But you don't have to start on any given note. You can start anywhere in the scale. Okay. Yeah.
You got, let's say you're doing this over like it's just a normal, I guess, F sharp minor 7 bet. Could you work in like the same chords from like F sharp minor, like the same concept?
F sharp Dorian, yes, but when you say F sharp minor, I mean that minor could be, you know, it could be an Aeolian application or it could be a Phrygian. Phrygian is a minor, but it has a flat 2, you know, and you know it has a flat 6, and so does Aeolian have the flat 6. Dorian has the thing that distinguishes it. It has the flat 3rd and the flat 7, but a natural 6, you know. So you could play. I mean, see, if you do like if we started going. And we just stay on that note. See, I can just play an E major scale. does it sound like E? That's because, see, even though I hit an E, see, E is the flat seventh of F sharp. See, there's F sharp, there's E. That's the interval of flat seventh right there. So even if I land on an E and I try to make it sound like E, you know, it's not E, it's F sharp because of the bass note. And see, that's the thing a lot of people don't know is bass players, they define the harmony. Like for instance, like I could pick a, let's just take an E chord. All right, so Bill, play a low E. Bill's gonna act and function for now as a bass player, okay? Okay, now without me changing anything, go to an A. Okay. See, now that makes an A major 9 chord with no third in it, but okay. Now what about an F sharp, Bill? You see what I mean? I haven't changed anything. See, he's defining the harmony by the bass note. He's playing all notes in the major scale. So we can't play a wrong note, but okay, what about a G sharp? That's pretty cool, yeah. Okay, or what about a C sharp? See, all we're doing is showing you how the bass note rules the harmony. And you know, I don't know if you're used to this, but at some point in your life as a musician, you're going to be told to stay out of the bass player's way. And what that means is, and it's very important because the musical thing to do is to stay out of their range because they can define the harmony, you know, and we'll clutter things up if we play all bar chords, like what if he wants to put a different bass note? See, we're getting in his way right there. So it might be better to play, I mean, there's always exceptions. Like in certain barroom rock and roll, you gotta play that bar chord or it's not right. You know, as you start getting into, you know, music that's getting more adventurous and stuff, getting out of the bass player's way is really important.